Part 4 deals with the philosophy of systems theory. If we are looking at system theory from a philosophical point of view, we can look at it according to 3 areas of philosophy. The first one is ontology. It asks what is the nature of a system. The second field of philosophy is epistemology, which asks the question, how can we know about a system? And the third question has to do with praxis, and it asks the question, how can we intervene in a system, or how should we behave within a system? System theory in general and biometric system theory contributes to all 3 areas of philosophy and contributes answers to all 3 questions. It makes contributions as to what the nature of a system is. And one of the contributions here is that emphasizing the interconnectedness of systems with other systems and the co-production of systems across different areas of life. It also talks about a holographic configuration of systems or of systems organization, and it talks about synergistic emergence from interaction between systems. From an epistemological point of view, systems theory makes some contributions to the traditional philosophy of science paradigm. It makes some methodological contributions, and from a praxis point of view, it has evolved a body of methodology of how one needs to intervene in systems so that the intervention is systemic and in line with ontological and epistemological systemic concerns. Now let us look at the scientific method. So we are looking at the epistemological question, how do we know about the system? And the traditional scientific method involves analysis, which typically implies that we are taking a system, looking at its parts, study their functioning, and look at the inherent properties of these parts. And we are taking the knowledge that we have derived from analysis, put it together, and we say, well, this is how that system functions. We are also going about it in an acontextual manner. We are postulating ceteris paribus, which means given that everything else stays the same, this is how the system behaves. And we are looking for predictable behavior in systems, and we are operating in a value-free manner. We are talking about a neutral observer who observes the same phenomenon that are predictable in an contextual environment. By comparison, if we are looking at the systemic method, so we are looking at philosophy of science from a system thinking perspective, the method is called synthesis. We are looking at interaction. First of all, we study the interaction between parts and also between a system and its context. And what we observe here is emergent properties. So as parts interact with each other, they give rise to new properties that are not observable in the parts. These properties occur through the nature of the interaction, and they are not inherent in the parts. Likewise, if we are observing a system and how it interacts with context, there is emergence that is happening that changes from context to context. So the same system in different contexts delivers different outcomes. So systems thinking or philosophy of science from a systemic perspective is very much contextual. We postulate that we cannot understand a system fully unless we are also seeing it in context. And the result is that the system's behavior and the emergent properties are unpredictable, because as environments change, so does the interaction of the system with its environment, and so does the outcome that is produced in that interaction. It also postulates much more choice, because systems have choice in interacting with the environment. And the systemic method of observation is not value-free. On the contrary, it postulates that we have to look at a system from multiple values, and that different observers have different perspectives of the system and see the system in different ways, and that we have to put together the different perspectives to get a better understanding of how the system operates and what the nature of the system is. So, from a philosophy of science point of view, the systemic methodology associated with system thinking is an extension of the traditional scientific method. It does not replace the traditional method, but it says the traditional method gives us understanding of how the parts of the system and inherent functioning of the system is organized, and the systemic method says how the system produces outcome in interaction with other systems. So the two perspectives are complementary, and the truth about a phenomenon is an accumulation of both methods: the traditional scientific method of analysis and the systemic method of synthesis.